Not so many museums in West Cork, although there was the Heritage Centre in Skibbereen, not far away. But there was nothing she could do about the rain, except hope that it ended before she went broke. Rose's father, Jimmy Sweeney, bustled in from the back of the building. Maura had more or less inherited him and his daughter as employees, along with the pub. She'd quickly found that Rose was a lot more useful than Jimmy.
"I'll be off to Skib for those supplies you wanted, hey, Maura?"
"Fine, Jimmy," Maura said. She'd worked with him long enough now to know that a journey to the nearest town, Skibbereen, often took him a couple of hours, even though it was less than 10 minutes away, and half the time he returned without the supplies he'd promised, but with a handful of excuses. Sometimes she wondered if Jimmy was doing it deliberately, to punish her for inheriting the pub. She had a feeling that he'd had his hopes set on running it himself, although they'd never talked about it. But when she was feeling more kindly toward him, she just figured he was easily distracted. In this economy, she didn't have the heart to let him go, and she was pretty sure he wouldn't push her far enough to fire him outright. At least Rose hadn't inherited her father's slipshod attitude. She was always eager to please and happy to take on more work. So business had picked up a bit on this wet afternoon, but it could still be better. Since she had some time on her hands, Maura was considering going over the pub's account books, something she had little liking or aptitude for, when the front door burst open and slammed against the wall. A blast of damp air preceded a woman who looked like a wet cat. Maura sized her up quickly. Definitely not Irish. English, maybe? American? Definitely urban. The 30-something woman wore all black, including a fancy raincoat that seemed to be doing little to keep her dry. Her delicate shoes were soaked and there was mud caked on one. "Goddamn lousy weather," the woman said, oblivious to anyone who might be listening, which was everyone in the place. Oh yeah, Maura thought, definitely American. It wasn't uncommon to get American tourists in Lep, but they usually arrived wearing jeans and hiking boots, rather than what Maura suspected was a designer suit. The woman spotted Maura behind the bar and stalked over to her. "Where am I?" "Lep in County Cork. Where did you want to be?" Maura said amiably. "Thank God you're American. Maybe I can get a straight answer from you. Everybody else around here has been giving me the most ridiculous directions. Like, take the roundabout through the village and look for the old church. Like they can't tell I'm completely lost and barely know what a roundabout is, and I'm having enough trouble remembering to drive on the wrong side." It was hard for Maura to tell whether the woman was spitting or just dripping. "Why don't you sit down and dry off a bit, and maybe I can help you," Maura suggested. "I need a drink," the woman said. "No, I don't. It's bad enough having to deal with that effing rental car. And the last thing I need is to get stopped by a cop now." Her eyes brightened when she spotted the espresso machine Maura had installed. "Please tell me that thing works." "Sure does. What would you like? Can you handle a grande cappuccino?" "Of course." "I'll do it," Rose volunteered. She seemed fascinated by the stylishly dressed newcomer. The woman shrugged off her wet coat and tossed it over a bar stool, then perched on the one next to it. "I must be insane," she muttered, and Maura wasn't sure whether she was talking to Maura or to herself. "Why did I have to end up in the back of Beyond, rather than Nice or Venice?" Rose slid the coffee across the bar and retreated a few steps. The woman grabbed it and swallowed, and a fleeting look of bliss crossed her face. "You may have just saved my life. Thank you. And I apologize for being so rude, but it's been a lousy few days. I think I'm in the right place finally, though, so that's progress. So tell me about this place. How big is it?" "Lep," Maura said. "What you see is about all there is. Population just over 200. A couple of paved roads and a lot more that are sort of paved. You came in on the main highway. Were you on your way somewhere?" "I really don't know." The woman looked around the room. Everybody quickly looked away, but it was obvious that they were interested. "Slow day around here, if I'm the best entertainment you've got. You know this area well?" "I've only been here a couple of months myself, so I wouldn't say I know it well," Maura told her. "But then, there's not a lot